Imagine for a moment that death is not the ultimate end, but merely the natural conclusion to a cycle we all share. Imagine, too, that this inevitable event should not be feared, not because it's a far-off abstraction, but because, quite simply, it doesn't concern us. We are born, we live, and we die, but what if the fear of death, the anxiety that haunts our thoughts, is entirely misplaced? How would this perspective change the way we live our lives, view our relationships, and engage with the world around us? These are not abstract philosophical questions, but central tenets of Epicurean thought. Ideas that challenge the way many people view mortality today. Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher, argued boldly that death is nothing to us, a statement that not only defies popular fears but also offers an entirely different lens through which we can understand our existence. For Epicurus, death is not something to dread but an inevitable, natural event that should be met with acceptance rather than anxiety. In a world where our understanding of mortality often leads to existential dread, Epicurus' insights are as revolutionary today as they were over 2 millennia ago. Welcome to the unfolding journey, where today we'll delve deep into one of the most provocative views on mortality ever proposed, the Epicurean philosophy. By challenging contemporary attitudes toward death, Epicurus offers us a way to live more fully, without the constant shadow of fear and worry that so often colors our lives. In this video, we'll explore how his radical perspective can transform the way we think about death and, perhaps more importantly, how we live. Before we dive into the heart of today's topic, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with all our philosophical explorations. Epicurus and the fear of death. To fully appreciate Epicurus' perspective, it's essential to first grasp the core of his philosophy. Epicurus was a philosopher who, in stark contrast to many of his contemporaries, focused his teachings on personal happiness and the pursuit of tranquility. For Epicurus, the ultimate goal of life was ataraxia, a state of serene calmness and freedom from disturbance. And how could one achieve ataraxia? By eliminating unnecessary fears, particularly the fear of gods and, of course, death. Epicurus argued that death is nothing to us because, once we die, we cease to exist. He emphasized that the fear of death is irrational because, in death, there is no one left to experience suffering or pain. In his letter to Municius, Epicurus wrote, "Death is nothing to us, for that which is dissolved is without sensation, and that which is without sensation is nothing to us." For him, death is simply the end of consciousness, and therefore, it has no bearing on our lives while we are alive. The philosopher's view stands in stark contrast to contemporary attitudes toward death. In modern society, death is often framed as an abyss, a final, terrifying event that we spend much of our lives trying to avoid or delay. We often conceptualize death as a threat, something that must be battled against, deferred, or feared. This is not just a cultural tendency, but also deeply ingrained in many religious and existential worldviews, where death represents the ultimate mystery, punishment, or end of meaning. Epicurus challenges this narrative by suggesting that death is not something to be feared at all. If we cease to exist at the moment of death, then there is nothing to fear because there will be no experience of suffering or pain after death. The fear of death, according to Epicurus, is rooted in an irrational belief that death somehow harms us. But this belief is unfounded because death is merely the absence of life, and in the absence of life, there can be no harm. Epicurus versus modern society's fear of mortality. Modern Western culture tends to treat death as the greatest of all fears, something that must be overcome, avoided, or confronted with dignity. This is reflected in the immense cultural significance placed on medical advancements, the quest for immortality, and the way we define success in life. We live in an age where youthfulness and the avoidance of death are celebrated, and many people go to great lengths to extend their lives through technological and medical interventions. For many, the fear of death is tied to existential uncertainty. What happens after we die? Is there an afterlife? If not, what is the meaning of life? These questions, and the fear they stir, are often seen as natural and unavoidable. But Epicurus' philosophy provides an alternative approach to mortality. Death is simply the end of experience, and as such, it cannot affect us. He argued that what we should fear is not death itself, but the things that can disrupt our peace during life, such as anxiety, illness, and unmet desires. In contrast to Epicurus' view, today's culture often encourages people to stave off thoughts of death, to seek distractions from the inevitable, and to equate a fear of mortality with living a life of significance. But this attitude can often be a source of chronic anxiety. We spend much of our time accumulating wealth, status, and experiences, yet even as we reach our goals, we may be haunted by the underlying fear of death, that in the end, it all will be lost. Epicurus offers a path out of this cycle of anxiety. If we accept death as something that has no impact on us, we free ourselves from the need to chase after eternal life or to accumulate wealth and status as a means of combating death's approach. In his view, happiness is found in the present moment, in simple pleasures, and in the cultivation of friendships. By letting go of the fear of death, we can more fully appreciate the time we have and live in harmony with our true nature. Living a better life. How Epicurus' philosophy can influence the way we live. How does this radical perspective on death influence the way we live? Epicurus provides several insights into how we might live more fulfilling and less anxious lives. Pursuit of simple pleasures. By relieving ourselves of the fear of death, we are able to focus on what truly matters, living a life rich in simple pleasures. Epicurus taught that happiness lies not in material wealth or grandeur, but in the cultivation of friendships, the enjoyment of good food, and the appreciation of nature. By not being consumed with the anxiety about death, we can focus on enjoying life as it is, appreciating the small, fleeting moments that bring us joy. Focus on friendship and community. Epicurus placed a significant emphasis on friendship as the cornerstone of a happy life. Friends, in his view, provide the emotional support needed to live without fear. In a society that often glorifies individualism and self-sufficiency, Epicurus reminds us that human connection is one of the most vital sources of happiness and peace. Rather than isolating ourselves in the pursuit of unattainable goals, we should cultivate relationships that bring us joy and comfort. Living in the present. Epicurus teaches that life should be lived in the present moment, free from anxieties about the future or the past. When we are no longer preoccupied with the fear of death, we can live more mindfully, appreciating each day for what it offers. This perspective encourages us to let go of worries about things beyond our control and instead focus on living with intention and gratitude. Acceptance of nature. Perhaps one of the most profound lessons from Epicurus is the acceptance of nature and our place within it. Death, for him, is a natural part of the cycle of life, and by accepting that reality, we can make peace with it. Instead of seeing death as an enemy to be avoided, we can embrace it as a natural process that should not disturb our sense of peace or happiness. Epicurus' view on death forces us to confront one of humanity's most fundamental fears, the fear of our own mortality. In a world where death is often seen as something to be feared, avoided, or denied, Epicurus offers a refreshing alternative. Death is nothing to us. It is simply the cessation of experience, a moment where we are no longer aware of anything. Understanding this, we can live without fear, embracing the present moment and finding joy in the simple pleasures of life. By challenging contemporary attitudes toward death, Epicurus' philosophy offers not only a new way of thinking about mortality, but also a new way of living. His teachings invite us to focus less on the inevitability of death and more on living well, cultivating friendships, enjoying life's pleasures, and accepting the natural course of things. So, the next time you find yourself gripped by the fear of death, remember the words of Epicurus. Death is nothing to us. It's not something to fear, but something to accept as a part of the natural order. By doing so, we can live more peacefully and joyfully in the time we have. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the philosophy of Epicurus. If this video has sparked some new insights or shifted the way you think about death and life, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ring the bell for more thought-provoking content. Let's continue exploring the depths of philosophy together. Until next time, keep unfolding.